Hello again. This is a quick video for members of the Seaforth Highlanders and of the cadets, covering a number of issues. I've just refurbished a bunch of kilts which are going back to the Seashelt Corps. They're being picked up tomorrow. First off, basic nomenclature, so that when you are talking about your kilt, you're using the right phrasing. In the middle of the kilt we have the pleats. They go at the back of the body. And left and right here we have the inner apron and the outer apron. The buckles, the straps, there's various ways these things do up. This one has one left and one right. This strap passes through the buttonhole. This top part of the pleats, which is sewn, is called the fell. Don't know why. The green is the top band. In this kilt, because it's destined for a senior NCO, the kilt pin. Now don't take the kilt pin out. Leave it in place. Don't polish it. It's silver-plated steel. If you just give it a wipe once in a while with a clean, dry cloth, that's all it needs. But if you try to use metal polish on it, it'll corrode. Also, leave it in the kilt. If you pull it in and take it out, you're going to see stuff like this. There's a hole in this kilt from kilt pins. I can fix that, but it's not easy and it's not cheap. So there we have aprons, pleats, buckles, and straps. The buttonhole. Now when you put your kilt on, the strap passes through the buttonhole. A mistake that everybody makes is they pull, and that'll cause this seam to blow apart. So what you do is you put the strap through the buttonhole, then you put it through the buckle, and then you suck in your tummy as hard as you can, and then you pull it tight. Right? Easy. Now if the strap totally bottoms out against the buttonhole, it's simply, your kilt is simply not tight enough. The simple strategy there is I move the strap over a little bit. Unless there's a little bit of space, when you do it up as tightly as you can, it's not tight enough. Right, so there. On the other side of the kilt, oh, one more thing. When you look at these kilts, some of these have some marks on them. This looks like possibly the leftover bit of duct tape or masking tape or something like that. I've tried everything to get that out. Another stain on this kilt. Again, I've tried everything to get that out. Do not dry clean these things. If your kilt requires maintenance, get in touch with me. I'll fix it. Working on learning how to do that for free. These things are, some of these things are 80 years old, so we got to sort of forgive some mess that happens now and again. These two loops were put in to hang the kilt up, but you're not going to do that. I'm going to show you how to roll up and store your kilt in a minute. On the other side of the kilt, on the inside, we have the lining, the label, and the elastic. Now the elastic, Seaforth have been putting elastics in their kilts since at least 1912. They used to do them in black with black thread. I don't do that. I use a white elastic. I use different colored thread so you can tell at a glance if the thing comes loose, you just sew it up again. These are sort of tacked on. They're not really sewn on, because if something's going to give, I want the thread to give instead of the cloth to tear. And I'm using these contrasting colors so that if we have to replace this thing, because elastic eventually expires and we eventually have to replace it, but trying to remove black thread without harming the cloth is a pain. It's a nightmare. So the lining, the elastic, the label. Now inside the kilt, here's a kilt that is yet to be repaired, and we can see that the fell is blown out. Some poorly repaired pleats. These are all going to be pulled apart. It'll look like moth holes here. Apparently somebody glued a buckle down. I'm going to have words with somebody about that. Now on the inside of this kilt, the linings come off, and you can see we have the canvas. Now I'm going to be charitable and suggest that maybe the person that made this kilt 70 odd years ago didn't think it was going to last as long as it did, because this canvas is inadequate. Because this canvas let go, that's why that seam blew, and you'll see a lot of kilts like that. And here we go. Here's an original elastic from, I don't know, 50, 60 years ago, and you can see how hard it is to see everything. It's going to be a real job of work to get that apart without damaging the cloth. Now, so we're looking at that canvas, which isn't connected to the aprons, which is a major failing. Let's take a look at this kilt that I've just repaired and I've yet to put in the lining. I've replaced that flimsy piece of canvas you saw with one piece, one wide piece, and it's properly attached in the middle, it's properly radiused. This spreads the tension over a wider area. It makes the kilt more comfortable. And as you can see, I've signed my work. Ian Glass, Diente me, Gray-haired John repaired me, April 2017. I'll put my own label in it too. Now, one last thing, when you look at the kilt, when you receive your kilt from stores, it's going to have these white threads in it. I do this so that I baste it together with these white threads so that I can press it and flip it over and press the other side. You should not ever have to press your kilt. If you do as I say, it shouldn't be necessary. And if somebody tells you to press your kilt, seek professional advice through your NCOs and officers, i.e. me. I'll come over and teach you guys how properly how to do it. But if you followed my advice, you won't have to press your kilt. Incidentally, when you get this, you're going to pick this thread out with your fingernail. You don't use anything sharper than that. It's just there to hold it all together. So when you've taken off your kilt, no matter how long you've worn it, you lay it out across the bed or across the back of the couch or something like that, lining facing up like this, and you let it sit out overnight or as long as it takes until it's completely dry to the touch. And use the back of your hand because your palms can sweat. You feel it for any trace of moisture. You look inside the pleats for any sort of damage, any bits of wool, any bits of fluff that I always worry are going to be moths. A lint brush is about the only thing I authorize you to use on your kilt. So when it's thoroughly dry, I inspect both sides, pick off a bit of lint. Now, the proper way to store your kilt. We don't hang it up, we don't use the loops. As you can see, I take the loops off. We don't use a pants press. We pick the kilt up. And holding the kilt so that the inner label, the inner apron and the label is facing you, arm shoulder width apart, rest of the kilt just hanging down. Using your chest as a table, I roll the kilt up backwards. Now it doesn't have to be tight, somewhat tight, but not screamingly tight. We are trying to keep the top end level, of course. By rolling it up like this, we accomplish a number of things. One of them, by rolled up like this, we're keeping the pleats perfectly aligned and flat. The cloth will smooth out. The inside apron, the part that isn't visible when you're wearing, it can be wrinkled. Nobody cares. Nobody's going to see it. But rolling it up like that, it keeps the pleats nice and neat. It means that you can store it flat inside a container where the moths can't get it. Let's say a cedar chest or a Tupperware box or something like that. And because a kilt is tailored to be a section of a cone, see, if you hang it from those loops or if you hang it from the pants press, your pleats are going to go all over the place and you're going to get yelled at on parade. So there you go. Roll it up, store it like that, and if you do that, you should really never have to press it. Thank you.